There was once someone who did such amazing things and said such wonderful things that people had to ask who he really was. Once when they asked, he said, "I am the light." I see the love of God in you, the light of Christ comes shining through, and I am blessed to be with you, O holy child of God. The one said, "I am the light," changed to be in all places, at all times. See this light? How it's just in one space? Let's change the light. Look, the light's changed. It's becoming invisible. It's growing. It's filling the room with the light of Christ. As you go about this room today, know that the light is there. And when you leave this room today, know that you take the light of Christ with you wherever you go. Now watch carefully. So you always know what today's lesson looks like. And watch carefully. Ooh, so you always know what our sandbag looks like. The desert is a very dangerous place, but it's very important. A lot of things happen in the desert. We can't fit the whole desert in our classroom, but we can have a piece of it. The desert is a dangerous place. It is always moving, so it is hard to know where you are. There's little water, so you get thirsty, and you could die if no water is found. Almost nothing grows there, so there is almost nothing to eat. In the daytime, it is hot, and the sun scorches your skin. At night, it is cold. When the wind blows, the sand stings you when it hits you. People wear many clothes to protect from the sun and the blowing sand. The desert is a dangerous place. People do not go into the desert unless they have to. When the flood was over, the creatures went out in all four directions of the earth to fill it up with life again. They often gathered along rivers. The people lived in small villages and cities. One of the most ancient and greatest of these cities was called Ur. In the city of Ur, the people believed that there were many gods. There was a god for every tree, every rock, every flower. There was a god for the sky and the clouds, the water and the land. The world was alive with gods, but there was one family that believed God was in every place. They did not know that yet, but that is what they thought. Abram and Sarai were part of that family. When it came time to move to a new place, they were not sure that God would be there, so they wondered what the new place would be like. They walked towards Haran with their sheep and their donkeys. Even the old people and all the children went too. They slept in their tents at night, and during the day they were walking along the great river. It showed them the way and gave them all the water for the animals to drink. It took a long, long time. Finally, they met people coming out from Haran. They knew the journey was almost over. Then they were there. Sometimes Abram would go out to the edge of the desert and look across the sand and into the sky. Then God came so close to Abram, and Abram came so close to God that he knew what God wanted him to do. God wanted Abram and Sarai to move on again to another new place. Abram and Sarai did what God said. They went into the desert and to the west of Haran and walked towards Canaan. They went with all their sheep, their tents, and many helpers. Abram's brother's son, Lot, also went with them. This time there was no river to show the way or give them water to drink. They finally came to a place called Shechem. Abram climbed up a hill and prayed to God, and God was there. So Abram built an altar to mark this place. Then they went on. Next, they came to a place called Bethel. Abram prayed again, and God was there also. So, Abram built an altar to mark this place too. God was just not here or there. God was everywhere. Then they went on to Hebron to make their home near the oaks of Mamre. One night, God brought Abram outside. He looked up into the sky. God came so close to Abram, and Abram came so close to God, that Abram knew what God was saying. For you will become the father of a great family, and Sarai will be the mother. The members of the great family will be as many as there are stars in the sky and grains of sand in the desert. Abram laughed. He and Sarai were very old. God's promise sounded impossible, but God said to change their names anyways. Abram was to be Abraham, and Sarai was to be called Sarah. One day, 3 strangers came out of the desert. Abram was sitting in his tent, and he invited them in. And Sarah mixed 3 measures of flour, which was a lot. Sarah gave them bread and meat to eat, and milk and water to drink, as was the custom. They told Abraham that he and Sarah would have a son, and Abraham laughed. Sarah was standing by the tent and heard them. She laughed too. They were too old. The 3 strangers went on their way. Do you know what happened? Abraham and Sarah had a son. They laughed again, so they named their baby Laughter. In their language, the word for laughter is Isaac. When the boy was grown, old Sarai died. She was buried in a cave near the oaks of Mamre. Abraham was lonely. He missed Sarah very much, but he had one more thing he had to do. He sent his most trusted helper back to the land of his people to find a wife for Isaac. Abraham's helper stopped by a well in the evening. Rebekah offered to give him some water to drink. She then helped him give water to his animals. She was as full of courage as she was kind. Rebekah had invited him home. He told her family about Abraham and Sarah and the great family. Rebekah decided that she would like to be part of the great family, so they went across the desert. They went past Shechem, and Bethel towards Hebron. Isaac saw them coming and came to meet them. Then Isaac and Rebekah were married. Old Abraham was now very old and full of years, and he died and was buried with Sarai in a cave by the trees. Then Isaac and Rebekah had children, and their children had children, and those children had children, and this went on for thousands and thousands of years until your grandmothers and grandfathers had children. Then your mothers and fathers had children. Now you are a part of the great family, which has become as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand in the desert. I wonder, what part of the story is most important? I wonder where you see yourself in this story. I wonder, is there anything we can leave out and still have everything that we need? I wonder, will you think of this story today? Or maybe something else. But whatever you do, know that you take the light of Christ with you wherever you go.